now that we know a lot about scales and a little bit about keys, let's dive into looking in detail at the major key, at a major key, if you will. There are many major keys. There's one for each letter, right? So there's the key of C major, the key of C sharp major, the key of D major. So every letter and accidental, all 12 pitches, something can be in the key of any of those. Now, just to kind of put everything in perspective, we have two different kinds of keys. So we're going to talk about major keys now. There are also minor keys. We're going to talk about those later. So there are major keys and there are minor keys. Now, I think I talked about this a little bit in a couple lessons ago when we were looking at that melody, but I just want to refresh our memory about the differences between scales and a key. So think about it like this. I'm actually going to add one more element to that. So there's scales, keys, and chords. Okay? So let's imagine a hierarchy here. So we have chords at the bottom. We haven't talked very much, maybe not even at all, about chords yet, but we're going to talk about chords soon. So we have chords down here at the bottom. And then we have scales above that. And then we have keys above that. Now, why I'm putting them in that order is that the key is the all-encompassing thing. This is like the whole piece. We look at the whole piece and we say it is in this key. The scales we look at because the scales tell us what key we're in, but the scales could change and we could still be in the same key. That's okay. The chords will change a lot. They will change often. Possibly every beat, the chords will change. But the chords, there are many chords that can be in a single scale, that made from a single scale and put into a single key. So there can be many chords in a key. There can be several scales in a key, but there's only one key unless there's a key change, which can happen in a song, but it's kind of a big event if it does. So that's kind of the three-tiered thing that I want you to keep in mind as we look at all this different stuff. Okay. So I've pulled up a song here. This is another one I found on the MuseScore website. It's just a nice little C major song. So before we talk about it, let's listen to it, right? Here we go. Lovely, right? Now this is in a major key. It is in the key of C major. Now the biggest difference between major keys and minor keys is that, and this is a very kind of subjective thing to say, but it's generally true, that things in major keys tend to sound kind of happy, and things in minor keys tend to sound kind of sad. So if you're listening to a new piece for the first time and you're just taking a blind guess, is this in a major key or a minor key? Think about first, is this a happy song or a sad song? If it's a happy song, the odds are it's in a major key. If it's a sad song, the odds are it's in a minor key. Now that's not 100% true all the time. You can do some kind of happy sounding stuff in a minor key, but more or less, it's a good rule of thumb to start with. So what do we see in this song? Let's just take a little walk through here and see what we see. First of all, it's in 3/4. Okay, so there's 3 beats per measure. We know that. Now we don't see anywhere any just scale patterns, right? Like a couple of videos ago, I circled like all these little scale patterns. This one doesn't have any scales. It has these runs, but there's a step in between them. Let me zoom in on this. So C, E, G, right? If it was a scale, it would have a D and an F, right? It would be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, right? So this is skipping over some notes in the scale. So it's still playing all notes in the scale, but it's just playing a pattern where it's leaving some of those out. We'll talk more about this pattern shortly. It's a very important little thing, but hold on to that for a minute. So it's playing notes from the scale, but not specifically the scale, as in all the notes in order, right? Down here, same thing. It's skipping over notes. So there's some notes skipped over so that it's basically outlining a chord is what it's actually doing. And we're going to talk more about chords in a minute. So here we have it actually building chords. Same notes, right? So here it's playing the notes of the chord one at a time. Here it's playing them all at once. Right? Here we're adding octaves to the melody. But here's the same notes in the same octave. So that's a C major chord. It's just adding another octave. So it's adding that. But at the end of the day, same thing there, right? Here it is again. And then we can't really find it here. It's a little bit different note there. And then it ends. So a quick little overview of what we can find in the major key. This is using a lot of these same three notes. And this is a chord in the key. So let's talk about chords in just a minute. First, I want to walk through a couple more things about keys, in particular key signatures in a major key. This is a very important concept that we didn't talk about earlier when we talked about keys, and we have to get to know right away. So, key signatures. Here we go.